Well, hey there, Dr. Tom here, and I like to talk about leadership in engineering. Well, hey, in today's video, what I'd like to do is spend a few minutes talking about the research methods we use to study leadership. So, broadly speaking, there's two categories of methods. There's what are called quantitative methods and what are called qualitative methods. Now, as engineers, you're probably pretty much on board with quantitative methods. And what the idea is, the data you gather are numbers. And so you try to reduce everything to numbers. And you know how that goes. If someone's giving you a survey and they want to know about customer satisfaction, they've probably created what's called a Likert scale. And it goes something like this. A 5 means completely satisfied. A 4 means, kind of satisfied. A 3 means, a 2 means not really satisfied. And a 1 means not at all satisfied. So one way or another, with quantitative, the data are numbers. And, as engineers, we love that, right? We take the numbers, we mine the statistics. So we say, well, we're going to get a large sample, we're going to randomly select our participants, and what we're going to do is be so careful with the statistics that we can then make generalizable statements. So we can say, okay, so what we found is that when A happens, likely B will happen next, or something like that. So quantitative is all about the numbers, and sometimes I like to say, what you do with quantitative research is you count things. And, we're engineers and we like to count things, so hey, knock yourself out. Now, on the other side of the aisle is qualitative research. And I've spoken with enough engineers to know at that point everybody starts shutting down. But hear me out. Let me clarify some of the misunderstandings. So first of all, what isn't qualitative research? What qualitative research is not? Okay, it's not like the researcher says, well, I know I should do quantitative and I know that would be better, but I'm tired. I don't feel like working that hard. I'm just kind of lazy, so I'll do qualitative instead. Okay, that's nonsense. It's not that at all. See, what it tries to do is it tries to address some of the weaknesses of quantitative. Now, quantitative has strengths. If done well, you can generalize. But here's the thing. Really, the only kind of questions you can answer with quantitative research go like this. How much? To what extent? If you want to answer a question like why, you can't really do that with quantitative. You're going to need words to understand that. And that's the nature of qualitative research, is the data are in the form of words. So what you do then is you have to think entirely different about qualitative research. So with quantitative research, we think of things like this. Well, you would never take the data in your own backyard, right? So if you work at IBM and you want to conduct quantitative research, you really can't do it at IBM. With qualitative research, it's the opposite. Now, to understand that, think about this. Let's say you want to go study some island in Indonesia, some culture in Indonesia, some remote island. I mean, the very first thing you're going to do is go live there for 10 years, and then you'll be able to do some qualitative research. So you see how the mind frame is very different. You want to be an insider. And if you're not an insider, what you have to do is get an informant who is an insider to help you, understand what you're hearing and seeing and so on. So one of the fun things about qualitative is, not only is it permissible to be an insider, to conduct the research in your own backyard, it's actually an advantage. And why is that? Well, with qualitative, you're not trying to answer the question, what's the most likely? You're trying to answer questions such as, what are the various ways people might react? What are the various views on this? And so if you're an insider, you kind of know. It's like, all right, well, I know that these 4 people, all kind of have the same viewpoint. And so with qualitative, it'd be silly to interview all 4. Pick one, find some people who have a different view. And so again, that sets you up. Then afterwards, you could come back with some quantitative and say, once we know all the options, then we can start figuring out which are the most prevalent and so on. And the other thing about qualitative is, kind of where does it fit? So if you're doing a new research stream, some new topic, what the books on research methodology would say is, you're best to start off with qualitative, find out what you want the quantitative people to count, and then if the quantitative people get some confusing results, maybe do some more qualitative to understand your results. And, to think about this motivation to lead, I've done a lot of research. I've got several papers on. What I did is I sat down and with some people recently promoted into management and basically said, why'd you do it? Now, there was already some quantitative research out there, but there was no qualitative research. And what I found was the quantitative research missed a very important piece. They just didn't ask any questions relevant. And since it was all Likert stuff, there was no chance for the person to say, but this is why I did it. Another case where you'll see qualitative research is for program evaluation. So let's say you have some inner city program where the federal government's giving money to some group, and the goal is to raise math test scores. And indeed, you see the math test scores go up. So the looking at the math test scores, well, that's quantitative research. There's numbers. The numbers went up. Okay, you're happy. But what you probably ought to do is do some qualitative research to figure out what's going on, because in this case, there's a well-documented phenomena called teaching to the test. So what you really want to do is help people understand math better, be more equipped to do math, apply math to real life. And what can happen is you can ignore that goal, prep people to work on a test, scores go up without accomplishing your goal. It's really only through qualitative research that you're going to discover that, hey, they're teaching to the test, because you're asking questions like, tell me about a typical day in the classroom. Tell me about how you prepare your lesson plan. So you'd say that one to the teacher, and the previous one you could say the teacher and the students, and you could, by asking questions and using your words, you can find out, are they teaching to the test, or in fact, are people really developing their mathematical skills? Hey, at any rate, hopefully that helps. I wanted to talk a little bit about the methods, and you'll see why more, because I'm going to do one of the sub-methods of qualitative is coming up in my next video, so I kind of wanted to set the stage. And hey, if you don't mind, can you give me a like? Can you subscribe? Maybe leave me a comment. Hey, I don't have that many viewers, you leave me a comment, I'll comment back. At any rate, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.